wouldn't mind maybe coming up a little closer to Jody for us to really be like talking. We're going to manipulate some things. I want to get to know a little bit about like you and the child that you're here for. So we'll start with a little bit of, if you don't mind, giving us an introduction. I'll start. I'm Stacy Welsh. I'm one of the special educators in the birth to kindergarten program. Chris hired me a couple of years ago, so I'm very appreciative of her pulling me out of the job I was in and giving me a new opportunity. I was a classroom teacher in a special education classroom in Howard County for 6 years before I took a little hiatus and did a different job and came back to special ed about 4 years ago. So I'm happy to be here tonight. My kids are 11 and 13, so you saw one of them here. But what I'm hoping to do tonight is to maybe give you an idea or two about how you're maybe working with math or early literacy, maybe some early writing concepts with your children. So if you guys would each maybe take a turn, tell me a little bit about you and your children. So would you guys like to start?
Good night. For English method.
That's okay.
For translation.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
My name is Maricela.
Marcella.
My husband is presbyter. I have one children. I have 3 years.
3 years old?
3 years old.
Okay.
I am Peru.
From Peru. Fantastic. Well, thank you guys for coming. All right.
My name's Jody. My youngest that's in the infant toddler program, is James. He's 2, almost 3. I also have a 4 to 9-year-old. It's a little crazy sometimes, but one thing I'm hoping, I was kind of thrown into the stay-at-home mom life once we were getting started in some early intervention, so just some like new creative ideas to bring like learning opportunities into play.
Name's Dave, 5-year-old.
Twin 5-year-olds? Okay.
Oh, 5 in 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
Okay.
Close enough.
All right. Well, that's great. Well, thank you guys for joining us. And you're just kind of looking to just, you got sent here, you said, voluntold, so you don't have to give me any more information there. Chris and Tony, do you guys, or I'm sorry, Chris and Tammy, do you want to say anything about yourselves? I don't want to leave you guys out.
I mean, this is my 7th year in this position, but I've been in the county for 30 years. I've loved every year. There's been some hard days, but overall the years have been amazing. So great county to be in.
And Chris, as everybody said, I've been the director. This is my 3rd year, and I've been in the county for about 22 years, kind of a range of positions. So my background is speech pathology. So I have done everything from preschool to adult with that, and just love our special ed department here. And
Slide over here and that sucks.
Right, that's always fun. Well, thank
that's how I got her. So
when you get an email from Chris Little, you always answer it. So that's just a lesson. So tonight we have a little bit of like my job. So what I want to make sure tonight, what we're doing is we're discussing how to encourage some of those early math and early literacy skills. Now my focus is going to be on like the 0 to 3, but with all of you kind of having on the higher end, I'm not going to spend a lot of time in that baby age group, but I'll talk to you a little bit about some of those prerequisite skills. The reason we're doing this is because it's so important to have your input and your involvement with regards to your child's education. It's not just happening during the day. It's happening at home and throughout all their routines. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk a lot about developmental milestones tonight. I'm going to give you some resources of where you can look when I'm not with you or your providers aren't there. We're going to do some examples. We'll discuss some things. We have some materials. We're gonna kind of get into it a little bit ourselves. I keep pushing that button. All right. So I'm not going to make you do a sticky note, but I wanted us to maybe just do a little bit of talking tonight about like what are you doing now to promote some early literacy and early math with your child? Like, what does that look like in your house? Does anybody want to share with me?
I use the tablets a lot,
Okay.
and you set the programs, got a couple different ones that you can try, but there's a lot out there that you can actually sit and play with that even, like they're autistic, so it's a lot of times you can't get the words out,
Okay.
but you can get the pictures and the pointings.
Okay.
So
Fantastic.
it's a learning experience.
Yeah, because you're doing it now with a piece of technology
Yeah.
instead
Oh,
of
yeah.
a book.
Yeah,
Okay.
before it was books, because I did a little bit in high school, we had the special ed program in high school, and I did that in high school.
Oh,
I
okay.
helped out in the special ed program, so it was a little easier trying to do it with them. The technology makes it way different.
Right?
Yeah.
Mhm. Do you have like a program or, an app or something that you've liked a lot?
Look it up, what you guys.
Yeah, okay.
You also said out there that, the one child, I don't remember, I think it was a girl that.
Alana, she'll take the sticky notes and literally, she'll take my pads, and I'll go around, I had 5 pads at one time, and you'll go around, you'll see things drawn on the pads all over the place. And that's her telling us where she'll, like a lot of times she'll go to the cabinet, she'll want something out of her candy cabinet.
Okay,
Take the sticky note and put it on the candy cabinet. If you're not paying attention, you know
that's
that
what
she
you
wanted
want.
something out of the cabinet if you're not paying attention.
That's right. Oh,
So.
so smart. Wonderful. All right. Jody, did you want to add anything?
I don't want to like cheat, but I would say from like the last presentation, like I learned my son's like super sensory and physical, so I actually learned in the presentation where I would try and sit him on my lap, like let's read this book, and it looks very formal, like changing my position, or if we need to get, physical, it's more about like, how can I get you to attend to the book? And maybe we're not reading the whole story, but we're pointing, or we're trying to focus on certain things. And that's where I've seen growth with him is, like, it might look a little different, right, than it did with my other children, but just trying to get to that first step.
And I love that you took that and ran with it, because that is so important. Like, it doesn't have to be how we're used to, like, reading through, every single word of a book. Marcella, did you guys want to add anything? Just with what you're doing with math or literacy?
Reading, books, counting.
You kind of introduced the books with him. Okay, counting, fantastic, thank you. So you're just kind of practicing it throughout the day. Okay, before bed. Good, that's a perfect time to do it. Get it like a nice established routine. So I'm going to talk to you about like some developmental milestones through the Healthy Beginnings site, and I'm going to show you a QR code at the end. Did you want to tell me?
It's called Rosie Mosey.
Rosie Mosey?
Mosey. Yeah.
Rosie Mosey.
Rosie Mosey, R-O-S-I.
Okay.
M-O-S-I. And they have the pre-kindergarten all the way up to age 9.
Oh, okay. And they like that one?
Yeah, it's a lot of, shapes, colors, memories, all kinds of stuff.
That's awful. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
And they access that on an iPad?
Mm-hmm. iPad, phones, everything.
Okay, even better. All right, so believe it or not, like early literacy is starting at like in that birth to 4-month age. And like when we're talking about early literacy, this is our little ones reacting to language. And a lot of times what we're seeing is maybe a child starting to, they're hearing a nursery rhyme, maybe they're making some sounds or cooing in response to somebody coming in. So what we would encourage you to do to continue to build that like use of language is to use some nursery rhymes, sing some songs, do things that are very repetitive, kind of you're just talking about your everyday. Believe it or not, that's going to start transferring into their later literacy development. What they're also doing is they're building their receptive vocabulary. They're understanding, they're taking it in. Even if your child is not talking, unless there's like a hearing loss, they are listening to you. They are hearing what you're saying. You may not see it right when you want to. I know I have that with my own children, but they're taking it in. And we're gonna find other ways throughout, like picture supports and things that they can communicate that to you later down the road. In that 12 to 18 months, this is where we're going to start seeing a little bit more of like that increased vocabulary. So what you're going to see kind of happening a lot is it talks about songs. I hate to sing, I'm a terrible singer, but we end up doing it all the time. That really helps our little ones. You know, if you see the speech pathologist come in and she sings a song and your child's magically like engaged, it's because they're reacting to that, you know, the tune. And sometimes the thing that's most important is us using some intonation when we're reading. You know, when I get out my book and I'm just kind of talking at a normal, like, calm pace, it's not super engaging for our little ones. So even in that 1 to like 1.5 year range, they're starting to pick up on things like our rhymes, our finger plays. You know, they might want you to reread a favorite story. That repetitive text is going to be important because they're going to start remembering a pattern and a cadence. What we can also do is, you know, point out pictures. It doesn't have to be like what Jody's saying, every single word on the page. We can just be kind of, oh, a dog, a cat, and giving them some of that vocabulary. Believe it or not, also in like this year to 1.5 years, we can start introducing pre-writing to them. And this is not like, you know, a perfect grasp and us working on tracing letters. This is just giving the kids some crayons, they're scribbling, maybe they're outside on the sidewalk, drawing with chalk. Like sometimes it was my own control of like, we're gonna have a giant mess, but you know, you can take it outside. Start introducing that and make it available to your child so that they can start getting some of those beginning skills. When we're getting to like 1.5 years to 2, and this is where we're seeing more understanding and use. You know, maybe they're doing some hellos or bye-byes, or maybe a wave or a gesture, kind of looking when they're hearing those things. What we want to do, you probably see in activities, singing again, doing those nursery rhymes, sometimes even like those routines that they don't like. Maybe they don't love their toothbrushing routine. If we make a little song and it seems like it's a little more fun, we're building, again, that receptive understanding. Oh, it's time for toothbrushing, and we can get through that a little bit better. What we want to do is make sure, you know, we're continuing to repeat our words and phrases. This is also important for us to use our body language. If you know some simple signs when we're doing maybe an activity, oh, we're eating, kind of incorporating some of that as well to build some of those early literacy skills. And something that I thought was interesting, like the imitative reading is something that Healthy Beginnings talks about. And that's like when our child is kind of pretending that they're reading. So trying to make sure we're getting books in their hands. Maybe all they're doing is opening and closing the book. We're turning it around the right way. Just starting to have that initial kind of concept of print, like I know what to do with a book, is an important thing for a little guy or gal to get exposed to. And you might see like just turning the pages. This would be a good developmental skill for them. Again, we're going to keep introducing and modeling writing and drawing. And something that I thought was interesting, like if your child's even just scribbling on a piece of paper, something simple you could do is just write their name on it and hang it up. And now, like I paired, oh, well, there's Jace, there's my name, it's up on the fridge. You know, it's something that simple that's going to kind of build some of that literacy. He's going to get some understanding of his letters and tying it to his own work. Now, this is where most of our guys are, I think, or more tonight with our 24 to 30 months. We're getting to a spot where maybe we're starting to recognize like things like symbols. And I know for my kids, like Target, that was a very like motivating. They knew when they got to Target, they were going to go inside and get a cake pop, right? Like sometimes that is stuff that maybe your child recognizes that we're not really thinking about. You know, do you go through the Starbucks line? Does your child associate that with like, I'm getting a treat here, or I'm going to McDonald's? And just kind of as you're going through your day, start to talk about it. Oh, I saw the stop sign, we're going to stop. Your little ones, they know what these things are. And sometimes it's just us calling attention to that. Again, we're going to still offer those books, trying to encourage them to get to that spot where they're turning pages independently. If you can encourage your child to sit with you one time a day while you're looking at a book, that would be fantastic. Sometimes it doesn't happen. Sometimes what I liked to do, because my little girl was here, if you saw her earlier, she was a mover and a shaker. The only time I could get her to look at a book is if I had her in the high chair and she was eating and I would hand her a book then because she's kind of captive audience, right? Like, so I had to let go. It's fine that you have watermelon all over the book. I'm just giving you an opportunity to like look at it. And sometimes you go buy those vinyl ones if, you know, you can wipe them off a little here. So getting a book in your child's hand at least once a day, it would be fantastic. And you can read with your child. You can read with like all of your children. Jody's been telling me a great story about how she's been reading at night to her older child. Do you want me to finish this or do you want to say it?
I mean, whatever, it's your preference. I mean, my youngest wants nothing to do with books. I'm like, try. You know, we get creative, try to swing him, jump. So I don't want to say I like gave up, but I'm like, I need to also focus on my other children. So I sit with my 4-year-old, we'll read a book, but now I'm seeing that if he's in his crib, he'll like come over and kind of touch base and check in, and I feel like he's tolerating it a little more, which is like really encouraging. And that's what kind of helps me understand. Again, it might not look, my 2 children are sitting beautifully on my lap every night reading books. It's okay if he's, you know, jumping and getting the motion that he needs. And we'll make it work however it works for us.
Yeah, and he's kind of coming to it when he's ready. And I love that you're continuing to expose him. Because I think for sometimes, and I'll talk about this later, is like, oh, my kids don't like books. So we just kind of stop. Well, my 11-year-old didn't like books. But guess what she does every night before she goes to bed now? She's reading a book. Like, so it does, we're going to continue to work on kind of connecting them with things, with stories. We're going to have age appropriate things. I'll show you some interactive books where maybe, you know, it isn't the book itself that they're interested in. Maybe they're interested in popping that little dot in the book. But you know what? They've got the book in the hand. We can start modeling and talking about things in that book. And you guys will have this in your handouts. I don't want to just keep going through everything, but you know, some of the things that I liked, just even with our little guys, to start promoting some of that writing, is just making that paper available. Maybe you draw a circle on it, and your little guy or gal, they're starting to draw some arms, legs, maybe make dots for an eye. Just presenting it, offering the paints, maybe on like a surface up on the wall. Sometimes that's more motivating than sitting at the chair, at the table. Maybe that's not where they want to do it. My kids love doing stuff out on the sidewalk, watercolor paints out there. That's another good way to do it. So just kind of, again, exposing, getting the crayons in their hands, getting the markers or pencils out there. Those are all good things for us to expose our little ones to. And then again, I'm not going to get into this one too much, but if you see in that 30 months to 3 years, the very first thing in this side are the activities that they would like for us to do to encourage development is sing a song. I can't tell you how important that is, and I know, Jody, you're probably laughing because you heard my singing today. And
That's the hardest thing for me, but
right, it's hard. And then, like, after a while, then you're singing the same tune to every single thing. This is the way we brush our teeth, walk up the steps, go down the street. But you know what, your little guys and gals, this is where they remember and enjoy it. What we'll also start doing is recognizing that like symbols have meanings. This is again those road signs, you know, the stop signs, maybe their favorite snacks. I know we're not supposed to always do food as a motivator, but man, my kids knew if I bought the wrong cookies, they didn't have to know how to read. They knew what that box looked like, right? They have to, you know? So like it just think of how powerful all of those things are in your environment. Sometimes it's just that box of cookies or the different fruit snacks or, you know, the applesauce patch. Connecting with that, oh, you want the Oreos. Giving them the words for the things that they have in their world. And I mean, I don't want to go through it. I'm hoping what you'll be able to do is take this with you today. But this is important. If you want to snap a picture of this, this is the QR code for the Maryland Healthy Beginnings. This will give you all your developmental milestones for your little ones. It will also give you examples of what the indicators are, and then it will give you some activities of things you can do to develop those skills in your little ones. Does anybody have any questions with any of the like early literacy and kind of those pre-writing developmental milestones we've discussed so far? Just All right, so I wanted us to practice. So if you'll humor me a little bit, if you guys will get your Where Spot book out. All right. And I was going to make you do this with each other, but I feel like that might be just a little mean. So I'm going to do this with you guys. So if I was in the classroom and I was reading this book, I would probably have everybody out in front of me, right? And I would say, oh, Where is Spot? That's the title of our story. And it's by Eric Hill. We're going to open our book. And then I would read at the title page, oh, where is Spot? That's Spot. He hasn't eaten his supper. Where can he be? Is he behind the door? No, he is not behind the door. Now think about that, how many words I just said. Do you think your 2-year-old is going to sit there and listen to me say all of these words? No, right? So how do you think we could maybe change this so that this would be maybe appropriate for a 2 or a 3-year-old child? When we've got a book, and it doesn't have that many words, right? I picked this kind of simple book. What do you think we could do, even maybe on this page?
I'll just say like, open the door.
Perfect. We're gonna open, and guess what they can do? They can open it. Now it has meaning. I interacted with the book, I opened the door. That's pretty meaningful. What about something like this? What do you think we could do?
I would just, for like my son, I would probably just point to say dog, or, you know, maybe clock, chair.
Jody is she's right on track here. Sometimes we don't even have to read these words. Because guess what? Sometimes our kids aren't sitting there. They're running by us. Oh, there's the dog! And the clock, the chair. Sometimes we're just making it very, very simple. And you could go through. Oh, I mean, I don't know how important a piano is, or I don't even have a piano in my house. So maybe I wouldn't even talk about the piano. Maybe I'm just talking about the dog. Maybe to bump it up a little bit. Where is the dog? What would you do if your child didn't say anything? There's a dog. Do you notice what I'm doing with my voice too? That's super annoying. Yeah, I'm trying to make it fun. I'm not like, where's the dog?
If I tried it, the girls would be like,
And that's okay. Where's
I would get the side eye while we're looking at the book.
Like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Right? But so, do you see what I'm trying to get you to think about a little bit? It's not necessarily us going through every single word on a page and making sure we're really looking, is he under the bed? And we're trying to find it. You know what? Maybe then after I've introduced this book to my child, maybe I just left it in his play area. And you know why I would leave it in the play area? Because I want him to pick up the book. Maybe he picks it up and puts it on the floor and I put it back, and maybe the next day he opens it up and he puts it on the floor. But I'm going to keep putting it in his world. And it was hard for me to do this because I was a mom who had the blocks in one spot and the dolls in another spot and the books in another. But no, yeah, that doesn't always work. So sometimes the books go where the dolls go, where the blocks go. Sometimes they go at the table with you when you're having watermelon. So that was just something I hope that like you have this book that you can take home and maybe try this with your little guy or gal. Maybe all they want to do is look at the blocks, and that would be fantastic too. All right, so when I went through the developmental milestones, there were things that I wanted like families to remember when it came to our pre-reading takeaways. I want you to read things with repetitive text. If I couldn't find anything like where is the blank, we're going to keep asking like in this book, where is Spot? Where is Spot? Is he under this? So that repetitive text will be helpful, and you may find yourself doing that just in your language. Look at the chair, and your child will start understanding and remembering that. Use intonation when you're reading. Maybe you don't want to talk just like I did today, but maybe you whisper a little bit. Because sometimes when I was in the classroom and the louder I got, guess what? Nobody listened. The quieter I got, all of a sudden,
You're like, "Okay, this too."
right? And they were like, oh, wait a minute, something must be, it must be a secret. They're telling me what snacks are in the cabinet today they don't want me to know about. Reread books. So even if your child doesn't like where spot today, well, try it again. Maybe you try the next day or in 2 days. You know, and hopefully your child will want to reread books. I know when my 13-year-old liked a book, we read 10 Timid Ghosts for 5 months straight. I can still remember that. I can still tell you all of the parts of that because that became something that was her routine. She wanted to read it every night. Hopefully you will find that happening with your child as you're presenting some new things to him or her. Ask those simple questions like we did. Where's the dog? We know where the dog is. It's obvious. The dog's on every single page, but we want to ask, and then we want to answer, like you were saying. If they don't answer, let's answer for them. Let's point, let's show them. If you know a sign for that, even better. Try to get as many modes of communication going as you can. Read face-to-face. Jody gave you guys the key right there. It doesn't have to be your kid, your child sitting in your lap and you're behind them. If you could get in front of them, then if they're in this seat and you've got the book, you're looking at him or her, you're showing him or her, that is a really great way to connect and to get that reading interest going. And then just leaving the books out and available for your child to explore on their own. So then sometimes when the pressure is off, that's when they want to show us they're interested in stuff, right? Like when I want to do things with my kids, they don't want to, but they might want to do it when I'm not hounding them about it. So what happens when your child hates books? Do you have any, what should we do then? Any ideas? Because I had one of those, I told you.
Try again.
Right? Yeah, we can't just give up. Guess what? Some of our developmental milestones, I think I told you once or twice about songs, right? Songs and rhymes and finger things. I mean, we're all tired of Wheels on the Bus and Old MacDonald, but guess what? Your child's not. They still like those. So as much as you can add that in, that is a literacy, like a pre-literacy skill. Sometimes your providers, if you ask nicely, they can get you some picture supports. Maybe they have a topic board to go along with your Wheels on the Bus song. So we can put some picture symbols in there. This one I love too. If your child doesn't like books, have you ever given them a photo album? I did this with my daughter when she was 1. My mother-in-law bought her this little it was basically just like a photo album, but it was for kids. And we just stuck pictures of all the people in the family. And I didn't even think about it. I'm like, what is she gonna want with this? Well, man, if she didn't love that book, there's a picture of grandma. There's a picture of my baby brother. Like she would just go through that book over and over again. So sometimes that's our in with our little guys or gals. Maybe pictures of them doing something. That could be something very motivating and interesting to them. And they're starting to work on those concepts of print. Maybe you're sticking their name on there. I have Jace's name in the book. I have Mommy's name in the book. I think that's such a great way to get our little guys interested. Imitate. When I say imitate, what do you think I mean when I'm talking about those pre-reading skills? Does anybody have any ideas? This could really be anything that we're doing. You could be imitating your child. Your child could be imitating you. What we want to do as a foundation for our communication is imitation. You may do it with I'm taking my little block and I'm tapping it across the table. Well, guess what? When you're showing your child that you're sitting and looking at a book, or you're sitting and looking at a magazine, maybe you're looking at his book that you decided to get out. We want to try to get in their worlds a little bit and see if we can get them to copy some of the things that we're doing. So sometimes you just being an active reader is something good for your child to see. If we could get you to get your child to move during a book, that could be huge too. There's tons of books. I feel like Eric Carl has a book for everything. You can get books where maybe we're clapping our hands, we're stomping our feet, and you might be reading the book and your child's just clapping and stomping. They're getting involved in some of that action, and a lot of times that's getting their brain going when the motor movements are involved. You can make your own books with your child. Maybe he scribbles something on a piece of paper, write something down. Oh, it looks like a dog. staple it together, and now your child has a book that they're interested in, that they helped create. It's something you could do with them. And again, leave those books out and available for your child to explore on their own with no pressure. When it came to pre-writing, did you guys hear anything today that made you think like this seems like something that would develop some fine motor when we talked about the developmental milestones?
Maybe like turning the pages.
Yeah, all of that's really good. Us to like just getting their little hands going on anything would be helpful. Some other things, believe it or not, that helps with our pre-writing is just stacking blocks. That's a good fine motor skill. It's going to help us starting to get into that grasping position. You got some beats tonight. That was for a reason. It's, believe it or not, it's meant to be for us to do the pre-writing skills. So we're gonna, a lot of our little guys don't get a lot of practice with the beats and stringing and things like that. So hopefully now tonight you'll have those to take home and see if you can gain some interest in that activity. Tracing with their fingers and kind of getting them involved in something is another great way to get the pre-writing going. Finger paint, I could go a couple of different ways. I know when I was a special educator in the classroom, finger paint day was a day that did not go usually very well. Nobody really liked it. It was a hard day. But if we did it with pudding, that was a different day. Now it smelled good. You had a little taste, not a big deal. And a little bit fun. I would maybe, not do the shaving cream the day after you do the pudding. I'm just making a recommendation here. But getting those little fingers to trace stuff would be fantastic. Offer those crayons, markers. I know it's scary to let the kids run around the house with markers and crayons. Don't just let them do that. Maybe you offer it when they're seated at the table, or we put them up in a special place up high and we bring them down. Has anybody done that in the tub with their little guys or gals? No?
I've done the Target always has the back paint
Yes.
that I feel like the crayons sometimes don't come off as easy.
This is
I
true.
know the correct works not come up.
Yeah.
Right. No, and I know.
It works smarter, not harder, right?
Yes, the grout, it's not very forgiving in the grout. But yeah, the finger paints, Crayola, I feel like has a ton of those things that in the tub, sometimes that's where your child is feeling most relaxed and ready to kind of try something. So I love the idea of those finger paints, or even you're getting the shaving cream and you're rubbing it on the wall and they're tracing through it. In the bath, it's a great time to practice that. The other thing that I learned from OTs over the years of working with them is working on a vertical surface is a lot different than a horizontal surface. So a lot of times our little guys and gals really liked when something was stuck up to the door or the easel or something. You don't have to have an easel. You could just tape a piece of paper to your sliding glass door and have them color on it with the markers. It'll wipe off your glass door, but it would give them another opportunity, another way to explore that pre-writing. And then, like I said earlier, adding your own writing to your child's drawing is pretty meaningful to them. It's something they created. You paired it with some language, or you added their name, would make it very helpful. And a lot of times what we want to do if you are getting your child to a spot where they are starting to work with the crayons or the markers, let's start doing lines. Let's start doing circles. Starting those up and down and circular patterns would be a great next step. This is down at the bottom, but also if you see an awkward grasp, just kind of gently correct it. Don't make a big deal out of it, but see if we can get them to maybe feel a little more comfortable with that. Now I know we were asked, and Tammy had communicated to me, families want to know about alphabet and counting and all of that. You probably didn't hear any of that in that developmental milestones, did you? I would say proceed with caution in this, especially if your child is gaining language. A lot of times that heavy focus on letters and numbers is pretty meaningless when it comes to communication. If your child comes up to you and says yellow, it doesn't mean a whole lot, right? But some little guys and gals, they're very interested in that. So I would say try to make that embedded into something that you're doing contextually. If they are playing with blocks, here, let's put the red one on and the blue one. You're not forcing the colors. We're not sitting there and drilling a child on let's do colors right now or shapes, but we're talking about it while we're playing. So that's in the context. Maybe you start instead of with the alphabet letters, maybe you start with the letters of their name. Mackenzie did not enjoy when I was trying to teach her how to spell her name. We had to do it while she was riding a bike. She also got mad because I gave her 9 letters in her name. It was like a mean thing to do as a mom. But we started with M, A, C, and we worked on that. So I know, like when I was a teacher, you would start with A, right? You don't have to. Find a letter that's meaningful to them. I'm going to tell you to sing again. ABCs. Talk about counting. Just start counting, going up and down the steps. You know, maybe you're pointing to numbers and things that you're finding out in the world, or during your apps and things, you're seeing it. Oh, I saw the A, and you point to that. So again, contextually, it's great. And then what we want to do is also kind of think about, before our child's going to tell us the things that they know, how about we let them show us what they know? My little ones, they used to like if I put all the letters out on the floor and we'd go stand on the B or go stand on the R. That was a little more fun than me trying to make them tell me what letters and numbers they know. So I'm going to give you guys a quick break if you need a drink or something. I know I've been talking a lot, so I'm going to give you a break from me for a bit, and then we'll come back and we'll talk a little bit about math. All right, so we're going to do like we did with our early literacy and the pre-writing. We'll talk a little bit about math now. I feel like math goes a little faster. I just think it does. So I tried to group our skill sets a little differently, so you didn't have the whole big chart. But again, like our kids in that 0 to 4 months, they are starting to understand, like, they can make things happen. And I know all of your children do this, like, this is where they're exploring. This is where, you know, our little ones turning into noise. Then they start to work on causing things to happen. This is where, you know, we're banging on something and it makes a noise. Well, that's because I did that. I know for families that see me when I watch your child throw something down the steps and look, I'm like, oh, this is fantastic. This is a cause and effect. Like, you're really starting to grasp some of these things. Our little ones that remembering what's happened recently, that is as simple as like, does your child hate when that tissue comes toward their face? They know, they don't want their nose wiped, right? I remembered that. I am not going to like react the way you want me to. Our little guys, their awareness of the things around them and their ability to kind of find things that are hidden, that's one of those early literacy, or early math skills. Something I've kind of learned as I've been working with the little guys, something as simple as like taking their favorite toy and hiding it under a blanket. Then it becomes a little bit of a game. You're going to not only do that early math piece, but you're going to get maybe a little bit of interaction with your child. We're going to work on, I'll hide it under a cup and just try to get them engaged so that they're remembering it's that object of permanence. This thing that was there that's hidden is still there. We want to make sure that our kids are exploring things, you know, having that safe area where they can really engage with toys appropriately so that they can start making things that they expect to have happen, or pushing that car down the ramp. That is, again, one of those early math skills. When they're in that 1 to 2 year old range, now they're starting to use those senses. This is how they're investigating the world, how they're solving problems. This is where sensory play is big. And I know, like at my house, we love all things like messy and kind of, if my little one could find a puddle, she would be in it. Like that was how she learned. So, you know, sometimes it's hard for, you know, us as parents to be like, oh, or uncle to be like, it's all right for you to get messy and kind of take it all in, but it's really good for them if they have that opportunity to really dig in and play. And sometimes in that sensory place, that's where we're going to get them to imitate us. Where we're, you know, we're scooping and dumping the sand. Maybe that's where we start building those imitation skills. What we want to see is our little ones starting to use their toys more purposefully. I have some friends, they use the toys in the ways that they like, that feel comfortable with them. And for us, sometimes we just have to be a model of how to play with the toys. And I know that kind of sounds silly, but I know I felt like sometimes I didn't know how to play as much with my kids. I wanted to always make it a learning opportunity, and sometimes they were like, Mom, you're bad at dolls. I was bad at dolls, but I had to get in there and start really just being a kid, thinking, how would they want me to interact with them? How can I show them how to work this toy and use it the right way? And then even in that 1 to 2 year old range, this is where little ones are starting to explore like number, size, position concepts. This is where they're doing maybe the nesting cups or working on puzzles. This is where, your opportunity to model and count and show them how to, even set the table. Sometimes it's like, we have 5 people in the family, we're gonna have 5 plates. We're gonna count them as we go. It's very meaningful. It's not really necessarily having to be this sit-down counting activity so much as like a real-life opportunity for them to practice. And then when we get to like the 2 and 3 year old range, now we're starting to look at like concepts like matching, sorting, doing the colors and the shapes. Maybe your child's starting to name some colors, you're modeling it a lot, describing maybe some of those more and less terms. A little one might show some interest in quantity and number relationships. Do your kids ever get mad when like their brother or sister has more cookies than them? Right? Don't they seem to notice that like at birth, right? She got 2, I got 1, I'm mad about that. That's showing the quantity and number relationships. Then we would just want to kind of put that mathematical thinking in our daily situations. Oh, how old are you? I'm 2, you're 2. We're working on that, answering some questions. Maybe we're doing some hide and seek. Maybe it's something as simple as just like, we went outside and we picked up leaves and acorns, and we put the acorns in one bin, and we put the leaves in another bin. That was sorting and classification. Doesn't feel like school, right? Because it was outside and we were having fun. And then you can also do some of that matching and sorting if you could get your kids to clean up. We have our block box and our toy truck box. What could also help is if you have a picture symbol on there, and maybe it has the word blocks, so that every time we go over, we show the picture and we try to work on sorting that out. Might help you at the end of the night get all the chores done. So what I'd like for you to do is I put some things on the table. I have some books and some manipulatives. So I wanted you to just kind of look at that. And we're going to talk a little bit about what we brought and what you think, how you could incorporate something like this with your child or your nieces at home. So if you'll take a few minutes and kind of explore the things that I put out for you. And feel free to open everything up. You can look at the toys.
Yeah. How many kids are there? Yeah, we're working at work, yeah.
Around panic lessons around.
Maybe you just walk over and goes,
Yeah.
come on.
Right.
February 18th.
If you forget, and then there's another one in March.
March, okay, here, you know what, I
Sorry.
no.
You know this.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, they got-
Okay, that's
they
it.
got the pop.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's what I think would be better up here.
Yeah.
Something on.
Right. One of my kids are brand new too, so.
Yeah, and there was wait a minute,
They're
I literally, I gotta get my
messing
nail of,
Yeah.
see, this works.
Yeah.
This one, like, to-
Yeah.
Had something to actually open.
Yeah. Right to the,
Huh?
right to the author.
Yeah.
Some,
Yeah, make them feel it when they open it. That's good. She's like, it's a-
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Go walk in here. Oh, they're doing it.
That's I think my favorite.
Yeah, oh, yeah. Make as much noise as possible. Yes. I said, when I said the book, I heard it. So they're like, they would love the book, but they prefer to sit in the town.
I know, I like, I love my son, so she's pretty like. But he's not in Lord, and I
Yeah.
never thought about like essentially using a Kindle or.
I can sit there with the moms.
Yeah.
And she'll sit there with the kids and she'll perfectly and that's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I had gotten, I guess I was using those like Tony boxes,
Mhm.
with like the audio too, just in case like, not to replace reading, but like as an extra, you
When
know.
you do there's a nursery going on.
Oh, very good.
So she'll sit there and play with her.
Um,
And she'll sit there and hum. The words yet.
yeah. Great.
So.
Yeah.
Hey, get her this box yet, but I got those humming ones.
I'm like, oh,
Yeah? You guys get a chance to play a little bit with some of the toys? So I'm not trying to like get you to buy stuff on Amazon, but all of this stuff mostly comes from Amazon because I don't go to stores anymore. So some of the things that I found that like the little ones have liked, so this is just a little, I'm going to try not to dump it out. It has a bunch of different colored shapes and you can do, yeah, you can work on some of the shapes or some of the colors, I should say. It has different maps that you can put onto that you would be able to change it up. But it's a good little fine motor practice with your little ones where they can work to put things in. Marcella, you guys are playing over here with this muffin game, so I love that. This one has some little die where you could have colors or numbers and you're filling them up with the colors or numbers of the mini muffins. Something else I would do also with my little guys is maybe you don't want to spend $15 on this. You could just go buy or use an old muffin pan. You could cut some colored circles out and they could just be matching pom-poms in the red circle and pom-poms in the blue one. So it doesn't have to be something elaborate that you bought from the store, but it could be something interactive. I had a little like cookies. I talk a lot about cookies, obviously, I have sweet tooth, so you can do that with shapes, it's something fun, and you guys got some, I know, some of those counting, I think they're little animals this year we got, you guys. I put these out because I don't know about you guys, but when it came to like doing the beads, sometimes the stringing with the string is a little hard, so sometimes just adding in the pipe tuners, and then now it's not nearly as hard where we can just slide it through. Sometimes you could even stick it into some Play-Doh, and now you can push it down. You don't have to have a fancy bead set. You can do this with like pasta noodles.
There are people that do that too with the, I'm gonna say it wrong, but the colander, you know, where you.
Yeah,
bring the-
yeah,
Did I say it right?
yeah, I was strainer, right? I know, yeah. No, and it's great, like fine motor practice, it's going to help with those pre-writing skills, and sometimes, like, I know, I felt like for Mackenzie, anything that looked like it was a school thing, she was immediately like, no, I'm not doing that. But if it kind of looked like I wasn't supposed to put this in here, like, I'm definitely gonna try that. So, you know, those are just some ideas. I saw you guys like looking at some of the books, did you feel like there were some things like, that you liked? Yeah?
It's got all
Oh, that sounds really
the.
fun.
Yeah.
And they have the like interactive touch and feel,
Yes.
or like bubble pop, you know.
Yeah, you don't have one.
Oh, yeah, it is,
Yeah,
there we
yeah,
go. I was like, you were just telling me.
Mhm.
Just to, again, if their kids aren't as engaged with, let's sit and read this book, right, but if we can get them to interact with it.
Yeah, and that's what, there was one I got from the library, I love that they're taking pictures. There was one
Like the holidays are coming up, it's like.
Right?
perfect,
Did you like some of these? There was one here, I'm trying to think. I went to the library and got some. There was one even, I don't see where I put it. It had like a slide. Did you guys have that one? And that was a little different.
For a while.
And you know what I did when I got here? I don't know, maybe I just needed to like, I just need to regulate a little bit. I was just like, let me just kind of open this up, and I'm just like, oh, look, Ken. So I was telling her about this book, like she wasn't that interested, but I thought that was just fun. So just kind of, hopefully this gives you a little bit of ideas of, maybe a different toy that you might want to purchase, or maybe just a different activity that you could present with your child, or a book to encourage some of the math and the creative writing. I put in your slide packet just some of the books about colors that, I've liked from some of the favorite authors. Obviously, Eric Carle, he gets a lot of attention. I like all those babies love books, babies love numbers, babies love colors, all the babies love. I think that's a nice series. And then the Lois Ehlert has a lot of good books. And here's some shape books. Square, the math shapes. My heart's like a zoo. And then the counting books that you guys got tonight. Tammy was kind enough to purchase for you guys the counting book, and hopefully your little one will like to do that, because it does have a little bit of that tracing practice in there. And again, you just leave that out. See if your little guy or gal wants to interact with it. I like the chickas, like the chicka chicka 1, 2, 3, and chicka chicka boom boom. Those are always fun. 10 Black Dots is another good one. All right, I'm going to do some trivia because I just want to see if you remember anything I've told you today. And it's okay. There are no big prizes or anything. I should have had some. At what age do you think a child would use objects and toys maybe more purposely, starting to do cause and effect relationships? Any idea what age they might be doing something like that?
1.
Ding, ding, ding. I owe you a prize.
Well,
12 to 18 months. Very good. All right, true or false? This one's a little easier. Parents should explicitly teach their child colors, shapes, and letters at all stages of development. Yeah, we don't need to do that. We're going to do it in an embedded sort of way. Hopefully you heard that tonight, where we don't have to sit and drill our little ones, because guess what? They probably aren't going to like it anyway. Hopefully you remember this. If a child's complaining that another child has more fruit, he's demonstrating and understanding which indicator. And these were from the Healthy Beginnings. I'm going to give you some of them. So would the child be beginning to explore some concepts of number, size, and position? Are they showing an interest in quantity and number relationships? Are they showing awareness of happenings in their surroundings? Or showing interest in concepts like matching, sorting, things like color, shape, and size? Any idea which one that is? B, very good. We talked about that. Your little ones probably know when they're not getting more of something. All right, I'm not going to make you do the sticky note, but I'd love for you to tell me something maybe you heard today, or maybe a toy you saw, maybe a way you'll incorporate some new early literacy and early math. So if you wouldn't mind humoring me with an idea or two.
I mean, I know my son has been grabbing my phone, and I'm like, oh gosh, who are we gonna FaceTime or like accidentally call? But he's been going and just like looking at pictures, and it seems, and this is always what happens, I feel like with these presentations, it seems so simple, right? But like, the thought never crossed my mind of, not super into books, but like if we printed out pictures and this is Mom, Dad, Jackson, Gemma, like family members, and kind of labeling them, I feel like it's so like simple, but could be so impactful. So
I love it.
you might see a photo album the next time.
Yay, I'll be thrilled, and I'll go through it with him. And sometimes you can buy them at the dollar store. You can just buy those little tiny photo albums, because like my kids wanted their own sized thing. And guess what? When my little one went off to school for her first day, that got plopped in her book bag. That was the thing she wanted to carry with her. So hopefully, yeah, and it could be very, very meaningful. Any other ideas that you got today, or maybe a new activity that you want to try?
I'm gonna make a photo album on the tablet, and go do the selfies.
Okay.
Every time I turn around, I find more of them on my phone. My phone, I'm like, hey, I got a news like this, So I'm gonna take it, put it on their tablet, just take a photo album on the tablet.
That's a great idea.
So they can actually see all their pictures.
Yeah. Are you able to like put their name on there too?
Yeah.
That would be fantastic. Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Did you guys get any new ideas? Did you like anything, Marcella? I saw you guys taking pictures, so that was a good sign. I don't want to put any pressure on you, but I think you liked it, sounded like you liked the book, and you guys were very good at that game, so that one might be on the Christmas list this year. Well, I want to thank you guys for joining us. I know it's a little early. You don't have to leave. You can stick around. You can play the toys. You can ask questions. I know there's a couple of things Tammy wants me to tell you about, so hopefully you'll write these down. In February on the 18th, that's a Tuesday, Tammy's going to be hosting OT and PT through the family support. That'll be here. February. So we're jumping way ahead. She's got Sensory Santa's coming up in December.
What is that?
OT PT in February. And that will help kind of align with us talking about those pre-writing. I'm not the OT, I'm just the special educator, but they're going to take it even further. OTs and PTs with the fine and gross motor development. March 4th, that's a Thursday. There's speech and language, everyday communication from our speech therapists. That will be here. March 27th, that's going to be the transition fair at Winters Mill High School, and that's going to be 5 p.m. in the evening. And then I know it's a little early for some of you, but for some special uncles, Kindergarten Here I Come is April 15th. That's here also, right, Tina?
That's at Carroll Community College.
Oh.
And that would be
What is
open
it?
up to everybody.
Kindergarten Here I Come, April 15th at Carroll Community College.